Buddha's Kalama Sutta signifies a teaching that is exempt from fanaticism, bigotry, dogmatism, and intolerance. So why is it that every time Sri Lanka mentions the word Sinhalese, Buddhist or Buddhism, the West and their stooges gets agitated, and they take pains to showcase why there should be no reference to Sinhala Buddhists or the Buddhist ethos that governs this island nation? In short, there is a well-funded and well-campaigned effort to remove the Sinhala Buddhist heritage except to place it as a coffee table book or adorn a mantelpiece. These demands are conveyed through various international organizations, foreign governments, local NGOs funded from overseas and hired local mouthpieces. These demands are even included as conditions for loans, for trade, etc. Are Sinhala Buddhist and Buddhism this much of a threat to their agenda that they are using every trick in the book to erase or dilute its prominence in Sri Lanka?
In comparisons, 13 countries including 9 European nations designate Christianity as their state religion. The state constitutions of Colorado, Iowa, Hawaii, and Washington, Supreme being supreme ruler of the universe, is mentioned. In fact, there is mention of God 116 times in all of the state constitutions. These state constitutions also mention Creator Providence, Divine Lord Almighty, while the U.S. Constitution refers to the year of our Lord and mentions 7 times the word Christian. The U.S. Congress is majority Christian and identify themselves as Christian. 2019 PEW research. All the U.S. presidents have been Christians and have used the Bible for swearing in ceremony. So help me God. The 13 colonies under the British Empire held the Church as supreme, and the 13 colonies became outposts of a Christian nation. It is only in word that the First Amendment says the U.S. has no official religion, as Christianity continues to hold a prominent role. A 2014 PEW research survey declared 53% Americans would less likely to support a presidential candidate who does not believe in God. Religion is being politicized in politics too. U.S. has a history of just 245 years. United Kingdom. In the House of Commons, an MP has to officially speak on behalf of the Church of England. The Speaker of Parliament appoints a Church of England chaplain who has to do a prayer every day in the House of Commons. Laws passed by the General Synod have to be approved by House of Commons and House of Lords to come into effect. United Kingdom. The sovereign holds the title Defender of the Faith and Supreme Governor of the Church of England. The Queen's relationship with the Church of England was symbolised at the coronation in 1953 when Her Majesty was anointed by the Archbishop of Canterbury and took an oath to maintain and preserve inviolably the settlement of the Church of England, and the doctrine, worship, discipline, and the government thereof, as by law established in England. So, what's wrong with Article 9 giving Buddhism foremost place in the Constitution? The United Kingdom is just 315 years, the Acts of Union. From the 1st of May 1707. Canada and the Church. Supremacy of God is in the preamble of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom, whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law. The origins of the supremacy of God traces back to 1960 Canadian Bill of Rights. The inclusion of the supremacy of God, in the preamble of the Charter, came about at the time of the patriation of the Canadian Constitution by the Liberal government of Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau in 1982. The biblical legacy of Canada's Parliament building. Canada's heritage as a nation under God is plainly carved on the walls of our parliamentary buildings, including Memorial Chamber inside Parliament. There are various biblical passages found inscribed on the Peace Tower and other parliamentary buildings in Ottawa, to remind the Christian heritage of our nation. Muslim constitutions. Islam originated in the 7th century and is followed by 1.5 billion Muslims. Over 50 majority Muslim countries ensure their constitutions contain clauses with Islamic features. The constitutions of Pakistan, Afghanistan, Egypt, Iran, and Iraq specially state that any legislation against Islam is forbidden. 27 countries have declared officially Islam as the state religion, and 7 Islamic countries are in the Asia-Pacific, which includes Bangladesh, Brunei, and Malaysia. Some Muslims also insist that the head of state or government must be a Muslim. Invariably, in all Muslim-majority countries, the head of state is a Muslim. No one seems to have a problem with this. Tunisia, who had the first constitution in the Muslim world, became the first Muslim country that incorporated a form of Western constitution in 1861 by referring to God, primarily because of pressures from British and French envoys. Muslims view secularism as unacceptable, so why do countries who themselves give pride of place to Christianity demand other countries become secular? Why is there no objections to the unwillingness of over 50 Muslim states to remove strict versions of Sharia which directly violates the UN Human Rights and Freedom Charters?
Sri Lanka's Buddhist history. Sri Lanka's documented history dates to over 3,000 years, with human inhabitants as far back as 125,000 years ago. Buddhism became the state religion since 3rd century BC. All kings that ruled Sri Lanka followed the tenets of Buddhism incorporated in the Dasa Raja Dhamma. Not a single division or ethnic issue was recorded in spite of Buddhism being the state religion. The 3 Western invaders that arrived saw Buddhism as a threat to their key objective of converting the islanders to their faith. Since 1505 to present, their agenda of subjugating Buddhism continues, with every effort and funding going towards distancing Buddhists from Buddhism by smearing Buddhism, luring Buddhists to commit anti-Buddhist placards, and social media outbursts prove the hateful vengeance that is at play. Buddhism has been a core pillar in the civilizational existence of Sri Lanka, inherent and identified in both its faith and culture. Countries like Canada, USA, Australia, New Zealand are all created Christian countries with less than 350 years of history. If they can proudly declare their Christian heritage and give prominence to that, why shouldn't Sri Lanka with over 3,000 years history and heritage? Also, if other countries can mention God, why can't Sri Lanka mention Buddha?